The world government, ladies and gentlemen. It is the single unified body that controls the majority of the kingdoms and islands in the One Piece world, and for all intensive purposes, serves as the ultimate final obstacle before the Straw Hats on their journey to reach the One Piece. The internal structure of the world government shakes down like this. First you have the Tenryubito, or the World Nobles. These guys are the blood descendants of the original 20 families that founded the world government over 800 years ago during the Void Century. Now, in theory, they have all the power of the world government at their fingertips. Whatever they say goes. However, most of them tend to just live out their lives in abject luxury and marijois. They're more royalty than they are actually decision makers. So therefore, that honor goes to the Gorosei, the 5 Elder Stars. Now, these are essentially the true heads of power in the world government, and therefore, at their leisure, can command all 3 major branches of the world government, the Marines, the Cypher Pole, and the Warlords, whenever they so choose. On top of that, and unlike the World Nobles, they are extremely knowledgeable and learned about the current events going on in the One Piece world. They know where to go and what to do when they get there. Then we get to the 3 main branches of the world government. These are the actual people that go out into the world and exert the power of the world government on the populace. We have the military, or the Marines. We then have the intelligence agencies, the Cypher Poles, and then we have a collection of some of the strongest pirates in the world gathered together to work for the world government, and this is a group called the 7 Warlords of the Sea. Okay, everybody got all that? It's okay if you didn't. You could just rewind the video if you need to go back. But anyway, in this video, I hope to explain everything that we currently know about the world government in the One Piece world, why it works, why in the One Piece world you can have a world government that controls pretty much all the major nations and have it be effectual, as well as how the government is really set up from the perspective of the citizens, and it gets kind of 1984-ish. So, here we go, basically. Now, the first thing I want to discuss involving the world government is exactly what kind of government it is. There are 3 main types of governments, at least in our world. You have an autocracy, which is essentially a government that is ruled by one single person. This could be a dictatorship, as with Stalin with the Soviet Union, or it could be with a monarchy, as with kings and queens having all the power ruling a nation. Now, the world government itself is not a monarchy, but we have definitely seen that kind of government exist in the One Piece world, and that is something I need to bring up. There are several other nations in the One Piece world that have their own systems of government. Some are even set up sort of like democracies, but when it comes to the world government, they are the ones that are in control of everything. For instance, King Riku Dole III is the ruler and the monarch of Dressrosa. However, if the world government ever comes to Dressrosa and wants King Riku to do something, he is obliged to do it because he is an ally with the world government. This is basically how it works. People can have their own little, kingdoms and stuff on their islands and in their countries and nations, but it's the world government that is the unifying body, the thing that connects them all together. Now, when it comes to the next form of government, democracy, this is something that is ruled by the people at large. We don't really get to see it all that much in One Piece, but there's clearly been situations where we've seen islands that are not ruled by a monarch, rather than by just the leader of that government body. Water 7, for instance. Water 7 doesn't have a king or a queen. Rather, it seems like the mayor of the city of Water 7 is the one that's kind of in control of everything, which would be Iceberg. Iceberg is very much beloved by all the citizens of Water 7, so I like to think that there's probably some sort of election or something that allows, them to choose their elected officials, their leaders of the island itself. So that might be the closest thing we get to a democracy in the One Piece story. The last form of government is the oligarchy, and this is what the world government is. An oligarchy is where the government is controlled by a small group of people that hold all the power. This is the world government, just on a massive scale, right? A small group of people, in this case it would be the World Nobles and the Gorosei, that essentially make all the major decisions. You might have other people down below that might have some other forms of government and things, but it's this small group that really calls all the shots. That's what the world government is, an oligarchy. Now, the world government has been in control of the One Piece world for the past 800 years. We don't know the whole story of how it started, but sometime in the Void Century, between 9 and 800 years ago, 20 families got together to create the world government, this unifying body. Now, 8 centuries of absolute power over the world, or near absolute power, because there are some nations that are not allied with the world government, like Wano, for instance, but still, 8 fucking centuries of the world government. That's a pretty damn impressive feat. You gotta give them credit there. Not a lot of governmental systems work that long in our world right now. And so that got me thinking, how? How does the world government have this much power over the world that has lasted for this long without being overthrown or without collapsing under its own weight? And the answer to that, pretty basic actually. It's really simple. Geography. Geography is everything in how this governmental system lasted for as long as it did. Take Europe, for instance. Europe, in our world, it's got a bunch of countries all clustered together, and the control of these nations, the boundaries of these nations, and the names themselves have shifted all throughout the past few centuries. Go back 800 years in Europe. It doesn't look the same as this, okay? It's about how all these countries are very close together, therefore invading armies can just march across the land borders and invade them. This has happened quite a bit. But in the One Piece world, it's not like that at all. You do not have a bunch of nations all smattered together in one convenient continent. No, it is primarily an entire land filled with island nations. That is what the One Piece world consists of. And this is true from the 4 seas as well as the 2 halves of the Grand Line. And I made a whole video discussing just the basic geography of the One Piece world. So maybe you should go check out that video to make more sense out of this one. But the basic premise here is that one nation cannot easily conquer and invade another nation because in the One Piece world, the islands are the nations. Like I said, some of them are monarchies, some of them are democracies, but it's not easy to get from point A to point B with a massive fucking army, okay? It sounds good on paper. Hey, let's go invade Island B. Let's gather together a bunch of ships, sail across the ocean, and then just conquer them. Not so easy in the One Piece world. You get halfway there, and then all of a sudden the fucking sky starts raining bolts of lightning upon you. Okay? So the geography and the weather and the climate, that's a big factor here. But it all comes down to the fucking H2O. The person or group that controls the ocean has the strongest military presence on the waters of One Piece, controls the whole fucking deal. And who are those groups? Well, you got the pirates, and you got the Marines. One country might have an impressive navy at their disposal that they might be able to use to defend their island against piracy and stuff like that, but it does not even come close to the full military might of the Marines. You have the pirates, who basically are doing their own thing, and you have very effectual pirates, such as the Yonko, but when it comes down to just each individual island, they don't even hold a candle to that shit. It's not even possible. So that's one reason why the world government is as powerful as it is and has lasted as long as it is. It controls the military. The military consists primarily of a naval unit that has a shit ton of battleships and the like that can go to all 4 corners of the world pretty much whenever they want, as well as both sides of the Grand Line. How the fuck are you going to compete with that when all you got is your tiny little island nation? Now, some of the islands are quite large, like Alabasta, pretty damn large, but it's just the fact that all of these nations are separated into different parts. If the world of One Piece was set up the same way it was in our world, with a bunch of countries all smattered together, it would be easier for those countries to form an alliance to fight against the world government. But good luck trying to do that in the One Piece world when all the routes to your ally nations are controlled by the world government in the process. It's not going to happen. Geography is everything. And on top of the ocean itself, quite literally, you have another huge geographical advantage to why the world government is as powerful as it is. Do you know where the seat of power of the world government is? Do you know where all the world nobles live? Do you know the place where the Gorosei are sitting in their room, plotting where to move the Marines to what part of the world, where to crush the rebellions, and the Gorosei, they're not going to take one step out of this place? Do you know where it is? It's Marijois, the Holy Land. Okay, that's nice. Where's that at? It's on top of a fucking mountain thousands of feet above sea level with a sheer rock cliff. That's where it is. Good luck trying to invade that place. The Red Line is not a place that you can just land your ship on and then charge to Marijois. It extends thousands of feet into the sky. We don't know how far it goes up, but it's pretty damn far, and flying machines do not exist in the One Piece world. Yet. So yeah, unless you're Fish or Tiger and you got your certificate of being a badass, there is no way that you're just going to climb up to Marijois with an entire army and then overthrow the world government. It's just not going to happen. That is why the world government has been in power for 800 years. That is why nobody has tried to ally together with other nations to try to overthrow it. I've said it before, but I have to pound this fucking fact in. Geography is everything. And the world government has almost 100% of the geography on their side in the One Piece world. It might be a different story if we knew that the Red Line itself was maybe home to different countries, but it doesn't seem to be the case. The Red Line seems to be like I said, a sheer rock wall that extends right up thousands of meters into the sky. And it seems like Marijois is the only city that exists on the Red Line itself. You know, maybe there's other towns or cities or ports on top of the Red Line, but getting down from it is very difficult. We still don't know how people get to Marijois, considering how high up it is. There might be an elevator or something, I don't know. But, yeah, it's essentially just a world full of island nations that the world government pretty much rules over from on top of their mountain of absolute dominance. I actually don't know if it's intentional or accidental, but the fact that there are no flying machines in the One Piece world is kind of weird, you know, considering they have the technology to create fucking cyborgs. However, I will say, if flying machines or dirigibles or anything do get ever invented in the One Piece world, that is when the world government's really gonna have to start shaking in their boots. Alright, so that's all well and good on how the world government controls everything and how it's maintained this power for so long, but you also have to keep in mind that another big difference about the One Piece world is you have magical fruits that some can give you the ability to summon earthquakes and tsunamis, so you also have to be very wary of the people that have those powers, such as the Yonko. The Tenryubito and the World Nobles, I would say they do have authority over the Gorosei, and the Gorosei did state that they have to try to keep the World Nobles happy, so if the World Nobles really did give an order to the Gorosei, I guess they have no choice but to go with it, unless it's something really stupid. For example, the World Nobles are not that learned about the world. They don't know much about fucking global politics, or how the fucking territories of the emperors are laid out and everything. The Gorosei are the ones that are in charge of that thing. They know that they just can't rally all of the Marines together to try to invade and just destroy Kaido's territory whenever they want. It would be a big-ass battle that would probably result on a lot of deaths on their side, and might not even result in their victory at the end of the day. The Gorosei's whole job is to maintain the balance of power, trying to inch the control of the world government more and more into the new world, trying to make it a unified 100% world government, trying to get rid of all the Yonko as well as the rest of the pirates' scourge on the earth. But they know it's a slow-moving process. They just can't get their fucking guns and just go and charge in whenever they want. So, that's why the Gorosei are really the true heads of it all, whereas even though they have to keep the world nobles happy. Whenever the Gorosei issue an order, they can either do that directly to the Marines, the Fleet Admiral, or whatever, or they can pass those orders down to Kong. Kong is the commander-in-chief. He's sort of like the mediator between the Gorosei and the other three branches of the government. The three branches, as I said, first you have the Marines, but then you have the Cipher Pol agencies. These are the intelligence agencies throughout the world that keep tabs on certain kingdoms. Make sure they're playing by the rules. This is certainly not the kind of world that you can go around and just bad talk the world government willy-nilly and just expect it to be okay. Alright? Somebody says something bad about the world government, if one particular nation or kingdom starts getting it in their head that they might ally with the Revolutionary Army or something, the CPs, the Cipher Pols, might get wind of that, tell their findings to the world government, and then before you know, the world government is sending a ship to their island to just buster call it out of existence. So you gotta be very careful with that. You also have CP Aegis Zero, which is pretty much in charge of guarding the world nobles specifically, and then you have another secret organization, CP9. See, everybody, like the common citizenry, know that CP 1 through 8 exists, but CP Aegis Zero and CP9, those are like the shadow organizations that the government uses when they want to really make sure that nobody knows what's going on here. It's not in the world government's best interest to get the citizens against them. It's not like a big deal if they are, because once again, geography is everything. But if the citizens are at least trusting of the world government to an extent, that's certainly in their favor. The last group is the Seven Warlords of the Sea. Now, these are the pirates that were basically given government permission to be pirates. Their bounties, whatever they were frozen, and they were given a deal. Like, you can basically keep on doing whatever you want to do. We'll give you your own islands, your own territory, whatever. But you The warlords answer to us, the government. When we tell you to fight a war, you fight it. When we tell you to get away from an island or something, when we tell you to do anything, you have to obey us. Or else we'll revoke your warlord title and you'll be treated as just nothing more than a normal scourgy pirate, and we'll try to kill you, essentially. The bounty will be reactivated, and that's the case. The same thing that happened to Law. You know, Law used to be a warlord, but he had his title revoked, so now people are just trying to kill him just as much as they would with Luffy or any other pirate. So, like I said, magical fruits that give you powers beyond imagining, most of the warlords have those powers, except Mihawk. Mihawk's good at cutting shit up, but he's really good at cutting shit up. His ability to cut shit up is unparalleled. So yeah, those are the fighting forces that make up the world government. And it seems like a pretty effectual system, you know? You got the 5 Elder Stars up there. They pretty much know what's going on. They're moving around the great chessboard of the world. Like, okay, we go there, we go there. Hey, Kong, that island over there in the Paradise section, I think it's allying with the Revolutionary Army. Can you tell Cypherpool to go make sure that that's the case? Cypherpool goes, investigates, reports back. Oh, okay. Send the Marines, do a buster call. We need to wipe that shit out. Seems like a pretty effectual system. Where do the World Nobles fit in? The World Nobles are just a bunch of fat fucks that act like they're superior to other human beings, act like they're cut from the higher breed, that just go around and basically act like jackasses all the time. Well, if you consider being a jackass going around and just shooting people in the face whenever you please, I think that might be a tad level higher than jackass, but why are they there? Why are they around? Why? It seems encumbering that the Gorosei and the Marines always have to answer to them. Well, there is a reason for it. The reason is not of like a major political one. It's not like the world nobles are making the great decisions that will really affect the world. Like I said, that's the Gorosei's job. The job of the world nobles, and the reason why the Gorosei and everybody just let them do whatever they want to do. For instance, if a government ship carrying a world noble lands on your island and he steps in a pile of dog shit, he has permission to just kill everybody on that island. Just immediately, no questions asked. Seems rather ineffectual. The reason the world nobles exist are twofold. They serve as a reminder, and they serve as a symbol. They serve as a reminder of the world government's beginnings. It's very important to have blood relatives of those that created the government 800 years ago. That's a long time ago. Okay? It's a really long time ago. So having the descendants of the world government still being around in the world and having all this power reaffirms to the citizens that this is still ironclad. This is still just as strong as it was 800 years ago, 400 years ago, 200 years ago, present day. This is still the system that has lasted this long. Nothing has changed. They are the reminder. And they are the symbol of the absolute power of the world government. Whenever a world noble comes, steps in dog shit, and decides to burn an island down, even if that island is allied with the world government, they have the authority to do that. Even if they do that, yeah, that might be a bit of a loss to the world government itself. But to everybody else in the world, it shows them their power. It shows them what they can do, and it shows them that they better f***ing goddamn play by the motherfucking rules. Yeah. Oh shit. World Noble landed on that island and they just wiped it out. Praise the world government! And that's where we get into kind of a 1984-ish vibe. You see, the world government is not a fascist, totalitarian kind of deal. It doesn't force every little island that's under its control into abject slavery. Although it does do that with other islands, like Tequila Wolf, and with the slave trade on Sabaody. The slave trade is certainly alive in the One Piece world, but the world government doesn't do that to every island under its control. The world government controls over 170 nations in the world, as stated by Spondum. But what it does do is that it represents its power, and the citizens in these nations know this power. So the citizens, I feel like some of them every now and then have to question the world government themselves, like, wow, they really do have all the power. That is kind of scary. But they kind of repress it. They kind of just choose to live in blissful ignorance. and they instead choose to focus more of their hatred toward the pirates and the revolutionaries, because those are the ones that are trying to screw up the system. Like, hey, this is the system we've had for 800 years. They have all the power and they have all the ability to burn our island down whenever they want, but hey, they haven't done it so far, so it's you revolutionaries, it's you pirates, you're the ones that are trying to mess up the system, even though, I mean, yeah, when it comes to piracy, you do have pirates that are pretty much assholes, like Eustace Kid, that will just, string up an entire group of people and crucify them and then burn the island down just as much as the world government would if they pissed them off. But when it comes to the revolutionaries are trying to fight against the government specifically. And here's something else you have to understand. 800 years of absolute power, there were definitely other revolutionary groups that popped up since then. Dragon was not the person that started this fast food chain, okay? There have been other revolutions that have started on other islands, and they've all been crushed. They've all been stomped out. Now, granted, the revolution that's being headed up by Dragon right now might have not have been started by Dragon himself. It might have been something that he's carried on from his ancestors. Maybe the D family, the ones that have been the enemies of the world nobles, the enemies of God in the world government for how many years, as long as the world government's been in existence. Maybe they were passing on kind of an underground resistant movement for centuries. And we're going to have another discussion about the Will of D later this week. That's not what this is about. But Dragon's revolutionary force has to have a lot of people working for him beyond just what he gathered in his life. And I'm sure that Dragon has been working for the Revolutionary Army for the majority of his life, but it has to be more than that. It has to have at least a few decades, few centuries of backing and people working for him in order for this to mean anything against the might of the world government. And even still, when the time comes to, I guess, try to invade Marijois and take out the Gorosei and take out the world nobles, that's still going to be a hard task to complete, because geography is everything. So right now, the Revolutionary Army seems impressive, but it's still separated all throughout the world. Dragon's apparently gathering together all the leaders of it right now, but who knows how long that'll take. Ivankov was a member of the Revolutionary Army. He got imprisoned. He got captured. So this is not like an ironclad operation that just seems like, oh yeah, they can just do this. The world government is still very much in control. Something else about the One Piece world is that it's extremely classist. And this is not just prevalent with the world nobles themselves. This is also prevalent in several kingdoms all throughout the land, all throughout the different seas and on the Grand Line. Take the Goa Kingdom, for instance. This is where Luffy and Sabo and Ace all grew up. The Goa Kingdom was extremely classist. And this is sort of like a trend that Oda likes to do all throughout the story, but particularly in the flashback with Luffy's, history with Sabo and Ace arc and everything in the Grey Terminal. You have a city that has, all of the nobility and royalty living at the top of it, and then you have the citizens on the bottom, and then you have a giant trash heap on the outskirts of the kingdom that the government just chucks out there to get rid of, so that the trash and the undesirables of the nation are not known to the actual people, are not known to the nobility. So it's a very classist system that I think the world government kind of encourages. It encourages the kingdoms that are under its rule to have this setup because it makes the citizens more fearful of the government, makes them understand that, oh man, even if we manage to overthrow the Goa Kingdom, it's still the world government that's in control. We have no power over this. We're nothing. We're just regular citizens. And once again, that's kind of depressing, so I can imagine a lot of citizens either just choose to live in blissful ignorance about the world government's true intentions, or what they could be, or they choose to praise it just abjectly, like, oh yes, the world government is our savior, praise the world nobles, or they choose to direct all their hatred toward the revolutionaries and the pirates, who are basically just trying to live their lives in freedom, That's the pirate life anyway, at least in theory. Once again, you do have pirates that like to kill people a lot. But in general, when it comes to Luffy's objective, it's just like, I want to live in a free world. And can you blame him if that's the world he lives in? I mean, nowadays saying, I want to live in freedom, that's like, oh, okay, well, there's plenty of countries that offer freedom. But in the One Piece world, not so much. Luffy's dream to be the person, the king of the pirates, the person that is the most free in the world, carries so much more water. when you understand how much of a chokehold the government has on the world. It means so much to Luffy as a character and what Oda is going for here. Now, you do get kingdoms that do have very good-natured rulers. Take Alabasta, for instance. You have King Cobra. I guess he is King Cobra. You have King Cobra of Alabasta, who is actually one of the families that did found the world government, the Nefertari family, but instead of staying in Marijois, they decided to split off and have their own nation and actually still rule over it. Like, the Doflamingo family ruled Dressrosa, but after the world government started, they left Dressrosa in the hands of the Riku family. You know, so that's how that went down there. But the Nefertari family decided to stay in Alabasta. So keep in mind, Cobra as well as Vivi are both world nobles. Same thing with Doflamingo as well. Yeah, they are world nobles, but you can tell they're not the same as the other world nobles because they're not living behind the glass, the veil, the perfect society that's probably from the rose-colored glasses of the world nobles' perspective. They're living with their own people in their kingdom, and they're very beneficial to their own kingdoms. Same thing goes for King Isabella II. Same thing goes for King Riku Dole III from Dressrosa. They are pretty good. But every 4 years they go to Reverie to kind of discuss things with all the other kingdoms. And if they have a major problem, like, I'm afraid Cobra's gonna get fucking capped in this Reverie arc coming up. Because he's like, I have something I want to ask the nobles. I have something I want to ask the world government. He's gonna bring up something he shouldn't be. And he's going to end up getting stabbed in a back room. Now, that would, of course, mean Vivi would be the new Queen of Alabasta, which I'm all for, of course, but I still don't want her dad to get freaking capped, so you better watch what you say, Cobra, because it's a group where you, in theory, it's every ruler of all the kingdoms in the world that are under the control of the world government, you know, they get together and they, you know, talk about current events, they talk about how to deal with things, but they still have to be careful how they say it. They can't be forming alliances against the world government or anything like that, or alliances against the Marines or anything. They can't. They simply can't. So they're still very much under the boot of the Gorosei, who are under the even larger boot of the world nobles. That is the world government of One Piece, in a nutshell. I don't know that much about political sciences. I have like 2 classes I've took under my belt, 3 if you include that high school civics course. But I hope I did a good job in explaining this and really how it all breaks down anyway. Hope you guys will like and comment and subscribe to this video. I hope we can get a major discussion going down there. Also, remember to check out my geography video of the One Piece world. I think that's rather an important companion piece to this one. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Later, guys.